You're dating a woman who turns heads without trying. Smart, funny, socially effortless. When she walks into a room, you can feel the attention shift. And you're doing everything right. Flowers, thoughtful dates, good morning texts every day. You're consistent, you're respectful, you're available, you're trying to be the man she can rely on. And then something starts happening that makes no sense. Her replies get slower. The enthusiasm fades. She becomes harder to read. She stops initiating. She's still there, but she's not fully there. And you can't figure out why, because you haven't done anything wrong. This is where most men break. They double down on effort, more texting, more reassurance, more planning, more. I just want to make you happy. And that's the moment the decline becomes permanent. Not because women hate kindness, not because women want to be treated badly, not because you need to play games, but because attraction doesn't respond to generosity the same way loyalty does. Attraction responds to value, tension, and emotional leadership. And here's the uncomfortable truth most men refuse to look at. A woman can appreciate how well you treat her and still lose desire if she starts to feel like your affection is guaranteed. If she feels like she has you, no matter what, she stops investing. And when she stops investing, she stops feeling that pull. This is not a call to be cruel. It's not a call to manipulate. It's not a call to create anxiety or punish her with silence. It's a call to understand a simple dynamic that shows up in almost every relationship. When your attention becomes automatic, it becomes cheap. When your attention is earned through mutual effort and respect, it becomes valuable. That's the difference between being a man women like and being a man women actually stay emotionally attached to. So in this video, I'm going to break down what's really happening when you treat her like a queen and she slowly loses interest. We'll talk about perceived value, why predictability kills tension, why women test you, and how to build the kind of calm, grounded dynamic where she feels chosen, not catered to. And most importantly, I'll show you how to do this without turning it into an emotionally distant robot. Because the goal isn't to be unavailable. The goal is to be unshakable. Let's start with the foundation. A woman's attraction isn't a reward for your effort. It's a response to the man you are. Effort matters for love. Effort matters for partnership. Effort matters for stability. But in the early and middle stages of attraction, effort without strength reads as compensation. And that's where good men accidentally sabotage themselves. They treat effort like proof of value. They assume if I show her how much I care, she'll care more. What actually happens in many cases is the opposite. The more you prove, the more you reveal you need her approval. And the moment she senses you need her approval, your perceived value drops. I need you to understand this clearly. A woman doesn't fall for how much you want her. She falls for how you make her feel about herself in your presence. If you make her feel like she's the prize just for existing, she may feel admired, but she won't feel challenged. If you make her feel like she's earning a place in a strong man's life, she feels pulled upward. That's where desire grows. Now, some guys hear that and immediately turn it into an extreme. So I should act like I don't care. No, that's how you destroy trust and filter for unstable women. The real skill is this: warmth with standards, presence without desperation, interest without overinvestment. Because the truth is, women don't want a man who is hard to reach. They want a man who is hard to move. Let's talk about what drives that perception. Men obsess over what matters to women: money, looks, height, status. Those factors can help, but they're not the engine of attraction the way men think. A woman's perception of your value is shaped more by how you carry yourself and how you regulate your behavior around her than by your resume. Two men can have the same income and the same physique. One will feel high value, the other will feel needy. And she will respond to the feeling, not the facts, because she's not running a spreadsheet in her head. She's scanning for signals. Does this man have a center? Does he have options? Does he have a life? Does he have boundaries? Can he say no? Can he handle pressure without losing himself? That's what creates the sense of this man is above me, without him ever saying it. I've seen this play out countless times. There's the guy with the impressive career, nice car, great lifestyle, but the moment a woman pulls back, he panics. The moment she's slightly cold, he floods her with reassurance. The moment she delays replying, he sends a second text. His external life is strong, but his emotional posture around women is weak. And then there's the guy who doesn't have the flashiest life, but his energy is stable. He's playful. He doesn't chase. He's warm, but not overeager. He invites women into his world instead of reorganizing his world around them. Women don't fall for him because he's perfect. They attach because his behavior communicates an internal reality. He doesn't need to win her. He's evaluating her. That posture changes everything. Here's the principle. The man who appears to need less controls the frame. And frame is the hidden battleground of modern dating. Frame is your internal reality. Who you are, what you expect, what you tolerate, what you value. The mistake most men make is handing their frame to her. They let her reactions dictate their behavior. If she's warm, they feel confident. If she's cold, they collapse. If she's uncertain, they over-explain. That tells her one thing. My stability depends on you. And no matter how kind you are, that is not attractive. Now let's go deeper into why treating her like a queen can backfire. Because a lot of men misunderstand what that phrase even means. Treating a woman well is not the problem. Treating her well while treating yourself like an employee is the problem. When you buy affection with effort, you don't look loving. You look negotiable. When you overgive early, you don't look romantic. You look like you're trying to secure her. And the moment she senses you're trying to secure her, the dynamic flips. She stops feeling like she's choosing you. She starts feeling like you're choosing her no matter what. And that is when her mind stops investing. Because investment is what fuels attachment. Let me give you a core psychological rule. People value what they have to participate in earning. They take for granted what arrives automatically. If your attention is always there, always available, always predictable, it stops creating emotional impact. It becomes background noise. This is why you can give a woman 100 compliments and it won't move her the way one sincere compliment given at the right time will. Because value is not volume. Value is meaning and timing. Now, the next idea is crucial. Uncertainty creates focus, not toxic uncertainty where you vanish and play games. Healthy uncertainty where she knows you like her, but she doesn't feel entitled to you. The difference matters. A woman should not feel like she's walking on eggshells. That's unstable. But she also shouldn't feel like she can act any way she wants and still have full access to your time, energy, and affection. That's how you create complacency. A lot of men kill attraction because they eliminate all friction too early. They treat the relationship like it's already locked in when it isn't. They start offering boyfriend-level investment to a woman who hasn't earned girlfriend-level access. And then they wonder why she stops valuing it. Think of attention like currency. Currency has value because it's limited, and because it represents something real. If you print unlimited money, it becomes worthless. If you give unlimited attention, it becomes worthless. This is why the strongest men don't lead with validation. They lead with presence. They lead with direction. They lead with standards. They aren't rude. They aren't cold. They're simply not handing out emotional rewards to people who haven't proven they deserve them. Here's what that looks like in real life. Instead of flooding her with compliments about her beauty, you notice her behavior. You acknowledge what's rare. You reward qualities, not just appearance. If she's thoughtful, you say, I like how you think. If she's playful, you say, that energy is dangerous. I can see your trouble. If she handles something maturely, you say, that's attractive. Most people can't communicate like that. Now, your approval means something because it's connected to character. And character is what separates women, not looks. Most women are used to men praising what's obvious. Very few women are used to a man who notices what's earned. Now we need to talk about the one pattern that destroys men: predictability. A lot of men think predictability is what women want. And for stability, yes. For building a home, yes. For trust, yes. But for attraction, predictable doesn't mean stable. Predictable means figured out. And once she feels she has you figured out completely, she stops thinking about you. And when she stops thinking about you, the emotional pull weakens. This is why relationships often start intense and then fade into routine. The man becomes a schedule. Good morning text at the same time. Same date format. Same responses. Same level of availability. He becomes consistent in the wrong way. Consistent in trying. And trying is not what creates desire. What creates desire is the sense that the man has a life that is moving, expanding, and not centered on her moods. So what's the answer? Not being random, not being unreliable, being internally driven, having your own mission, your own priorities, your own discipline. When you are truly driven, your life has natural unpredictability because you're not sitting around waiting. You're training, you're working, you're building, you're improving, you're not playing games. You're busy becoming better. And that creates the exact dynamic women respond to: a man with direction. Now let's talk about the part most men misunderstand: tests. Women test men. That's not an insult, it's a reality. Not always consciously, not always maliciously. Sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's insecurity, sometimes it's simply how she gauges your emotional stability. But the point is the same. She's checking whether you have a spine. And most men fail because they think the test is about the topic. It almost never is. She mentions an ex. She's not asking for your opinion about her ex. She's watching your reaction. She cancels plans last minute. She's not asking whether you can handle schedule changes. She's watching whether you chase. She gets slightly cold. She's not making a weather forecast. She's watching whether you collapse. The test is always about one thing. Can you stay centered without becoming emotionally absent? Because if you lose control, you're unsafe. And if you go numb, you're unavailable. A man who passes tests is not a man who wins arguments. It's a man who doesn't abandon his standards to keep access. Now I'm going to break down 3 common tests and the calm responses. Test 1, the comparison. She brings up another man, an ex, a guy at work, a celebrity. Weak response: jealousy, competition, trying to prove you're better. Strong response: calm indifference to the bait. Not rudeness, not contempt, just non-participation. You can say something like, cool, and move on, or even a light, confident agreement. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. Why does that work? because it signals you don't see other men as threats. Men who feel threatened reveal insecurity. Men who feel secure don't need to compete for attention. Test 2, the cancellation. She cancels last minute with a vague excuse, weak response, immediate rescheduling, over accommodating, trying to keep momentum. Strong response, calm acceptance, and no chase. No problem, we'll do it another time. And then you go live your life. If she wants to reschedule, she will. If she doesn't, you just avoided investing in low effort. That's not punishment, that's self respect. Test 3, the attitude. She gets snippy, cold, disrespectful. Weak response, chasing her mood, trying to fix it, asking what's wrong repeatedly. Strong response, emotional leadership. You seem off. If you want to talk respectfully, I'm here. If not, we can talk later. And then you disengage from the emotional chaos. That's not being distant. That's refusing to reward bad behavior. Now, there's a line in the original idea that needs to be reframed correctly. Some men say, mirror her energy and get cold until she changes. That approach can become childish fast. The better version is this: don't reward disrespect with warmth, reward maturity with warmth. That's the core, because the goal is not to punish. The goal is to train the dynamic. People repeat what works. If drama gets your attention, she'll bring drama. If respect gets your attention, she'll bring respect. Now, we need to address a controversial part of what you wrote: the idea that women choose men who treat them worse. That statement is sloppy, and if you say it like that, you attract the wrong audience and create the wrong mindset. The more accurate truth is this: women often get emotionally pulled toward men who appear higher value, and those men are frequently less eager to please because they have boundaries and options. Sometimes that looks like treating her worse to men who don't understand the difference. But the real driver is not cruelty, it's non neediness. It's the refusal to overinvest. It's a man who doesn't negotiate his self respect. There's a massive difference between a man who is harsh and a man who is selective. Harsh men create trauma, fear, instability. Selective men create respect, polarity, and healthy tension. If you want long term loyalty, you don't need harshness. You need standards. Now let's talk about the most dangerous myth men live by. If I treat her well, she'll never leave. That's not how relationships work. People leave for many reasons: compatibility, values, timing, maturity, life direction. Treating her well is necessary, but it is not sufficient. Because well includes leadership, well includes boundaries, well includes not turning her into your emotional center. A woman can have a good man and still feel no desire if the dynamic has no polarity. So the goal is not to be a perfect gentleman who performs romance like a job. The goal is to be a grounded man who offers a relationship as a privilege, not as a plea. Now let's talk about abundance, because this is where everything changes. When men hear abundance, they assume it means dating multiple women. No, real abundance is internal. It's the mindset of, I choose, I don't beg. It's the ability to walk away from disrespect. It's the calm knowledge that your life is full, even without her. Because you have purpose, goals, friends, discipline, and self-respect. When you have abundance, you naturally stop doing the behaviors that kill attraction. You don't chase. You don't overtext. You don't overexplain. You don't sacrifice your schedule for her moods. You don't place her above your mission. And paradoxically, that's what makes her want to be closer to you, because she can feel that you're not trying to extract validation from her. You're offering an experience, you're offering a life, and she can either qualify for it or lose access to it. That's the difference between a man who is chosen and a man who is tolerated. Now let's make it practical with the biggest adjustment most men need. Stop front loading your investment. Most guys spend all their energy early. Long texts, constant attention, over planning, over giving, and then they burn out, or they get taken for granted, or they start resenting her because they gave too much too soon. The better approach is simple: match investment. Let her show effort, then you meet it. Let her show consistency, then you reward it. Let her show respect, then you deepen. That's not manipulation. That's healthy calibration. If you invest heavily before she invests, you're gambling your dignity. And in the long run, a woman respects a man who respects himself. Now, I want to talk about masculine leadership because it's not what most men think. Leadership doesn't mean controlling. It doesn't mean barking orders. It doesn't mean dominating decisions. It means you are decisive and you have direction. You don't ask permission to live your life. You invite her into it. So instead of, "What do you want to do tonight?" you say, "I'm taking you to that new Italian spot. Be ready at 8." Instead of, "Is it okay if I go to the gym?" you say, "I'm going to train. I'll see you after." Instead of, "Do you like me?" you say nothing and you let your actions speak. A man who leads creates safety because indecisive men create anxiety and women don't. Relax into desire with an anxious leader. Now let's talk about the biggest law in relationships. The one who invests more has less power. And power here doesn't mean control. It means leverage. If you're always the one initiating, always the one apologizing, always the one chasing, you become the predictable pursuer. And the predictable pursuer eventually loses polarity. The solution isn't to become distant. The solution is to keep the exchange balanced. If she reaches out, you respond. If she invests, you invest. If she pulls away, you don't chase. You maintain your pace. This is how you keep attraction alive without games. Now, let's address the difference between love and attraction. Love is built on care, shared values, trust, commitment. Attraction is built on polarity, tension, and the sense of earning access to value. Most men try to build love while accidentally killing attraction. They become safe in the wrong way. They become predictable in the wrong way. They become available in the wrong way. And then they're shocked when intimacy fades. So here's the model you should live by. Be kind, but don't be cheap. Be consistent, but don't be automatic. Be warm, but don't be needy. Lead, but don't control. Care, but don't chase. Now, if you apply all of this, you'll start noticing something. When a woman senses you're not guaranteed, she becomes more direct. She'll stop hinting and start pursuing. She'll start checking in. She'll start showing more affection. She'll become clearer, not because you manipulated her, but because your value feels real and your standards feel firm. And women respond to firmness because firmness signals stability. Now let's end with a clear warning. If you take these principles and turn them into tricks, you'll build shallow relationships and attract emotionally unstable women. If you take these principles and build them into who you are, you'll attract healthier women and create stronger relationships. Because the true point of this entire video is not keep her insecure. The point is, don't make yourself a guarantee before she's earned the privilege. Don't hand out unlimited access to a woman who hasn't proven reciprocity. Don't confuse romance with self-sacrifice. And don't confuse love with begging. The strongest men don't create attachment by chasing. They create attachment by being valuable, grounded, and selective. They treat women well, but they don't treat women like a god. They don't worship, they choose. So stop trying to win her. Start becoming the kind of man she respects enough to keep. And remember this: the women worth keeping will never punish you for having standards. They'll feel safer around you because of them. If you want the next video, comment the keyword value. And subscribe if you're building calm masculinity the right way: warm, disciplined, and impossible to take for granted.